From Tokyo One Way, Yokoso, welcome to my channel. I'm Claudia. This video could sound like a rant, and maybe it is, but as you have noticed from the title, behind the smile, I will tell you several things that happened to me when I was a student here in Japan, and now that I'm living in Japan since the year 2000. Why I tell you these things? Because when you come to Japan, you will have the impression that everyone is so polite, so kind. They are always smiling at you in the restaurants, in the shops, etc., etc. This is a great thing about Japan. But if you live here and you work here, there is more behind that smile. Some aspects of Japanese persons that you could discover only working and living here. If you come as a tourist, you will not notice. You will have this marvelous impression of this country. But all that glitters ain't gold. The things that I'm going to tell you happened to me here, but they could have happened also in other countries. So, and moreover, I'm talking about Tokyo, which is a very large and populated city. Maybe the mentality and the behavior of persons are different if you move to other cities or to small rural areas. I don't know. And with this video, it's not my intention to bad-mouthing Japanese persons, because I am married with a Japanese, and I live in Japan, but are things that I would like you to know, so that it happens to you to be in the same situation, you already know. These two things that I'm going to tell you happened to me when I was a student. So I remember the year, it was 1993. Maybe people has changed, I don't know. I'm a sort of serial fainter. Sometimes I just faint. More when I was a student than now, and probably it was also caused by the stress, etc., etc. Anyhow, it happened to me to faint in the building where I was living, and I just faint at the entrance of the elevator. So I had part of my body inside the elevator and part of my legs were outside the elevator, so the door couldn't shut. And my legs were bent. I don't know how long I passed out, but when I came back to life, there was a Japanese man living in the same building. This Japanese man was kicking my legs with his feet to try to push me inside the elevator so that he could reach his floor. And I opened my eyes, I saw that he was kicking me, and I reacted pulling my leg inside the elevator. He looked at me, he pressed the button of his floor, he didn't ask me if I needed help, if he should call an ambulance. He didn't excuse himself for kicking me. So you saw me on the ground and you kick my legs, to enter the elevator. He would reach his floor. I managed to stand up. He didn't even, let's say, give me a hand to stand up. Left me there. And then when I was standing, I pressed the button for my floor and I went inside. But I don't know how I felt. I had a terrible pain in my back. It was excruciating moving. And that day I had an Italian language lesson. So after, let's say, an hour and a half or something like this, but I couldn't move. I had to stay on the futon. If I laid down, it was okay, but if I was trying to move, it hurted me very much, and I was afraid because when I was here as a student, I never went to an hospital because I didn't know how it worked. So in Italy, you go to an hospital if you have something very, if it's an emergency. So I said, I have a pain here, yes, okay, but should I go to the hospital? I don't think so. Anyhow, I phoned the school, I told them that I couldn't go, and the school, they were very, very angry with me, and 3 days after they phoned me and they said, your service are no longer required. So I know that I did something wrong because I cancelled a lesson 1 hour and a half, 2 hours before the lesson, and it's not professional, but I couldn't move. And I told them that, look, I fainted, I don't know why, and nothing. Here in Japan, you don't have to be sick. If you are sick and you don't go to work, it means you are having something very, very serious, or you are dying. Anyhow, it's not as much as the fact that I was fired from that school, but the behavior of that Japanese man in the elevator. I mean, we live in the same building. Oh, I'm a human being. You leave me there and you kick me? Okay. The second experience, always with fainting, was at work, and we were not at the company, but we were at the technical center. I passed out again, and I was there with another Japanese colleague, the boss, and then there were the company had agents all over Japan, and there was technical training or something like this. So we were all together at the technical center, and it was this training. It was made on Sunday and Saturday and Sunday, and I was doing some work in the office, let's say at the technical center. All the other persons were in the other room, and where there was the equipment, etc. My Japanese colleagues came in the office, saw me on the ground again. He asked me, "What are you doing there?" I said, "Look, I just fainted. I'm trying to have the strength to get up, not to faint again." And he didn't ask me, "Are you okay? Do you need something?" Nothing. I had to ask him, "Please bring me a glass of water and tell to the boss that if he needs me, he has to wait a little bit because I had this accident." After maybe 10-15 minutes, he brought me some water. He didn't help me at all. So that was the second thing. So I will tell you other things that happened to me in these 17 years that I'm living here in Japan. As I told you, this is the image of Japanese person smiling, very nice, very polite, and so on. But I had already 2 experiences with neighbors, and they were both ladies. The first one, she came to live in the apartment next to ours, and she had 3 small kids and an husband. The thing was that she presented herself with her mother. She came and she rang my bell, and she introduced herself, and she presented herself with this demeanor, plain clothes, no makeup, and this Mona Lisa smile, etc., etc. And afterwards I saw her true colors. It was something terrible. At the end we moved and also the persons living in the apartment right down her apartment moved from that building. Anyhow, we didn't move because of her, of course, but you see how they want to appear and then who they really are. And I remember I made a cake, and she had 3 kids, and I gave her the cake for the kids. I had to ask 3 times for my plate because it was a large plate. I had only that one, and 3 times I had to ask, "Could you give me the plate back? Could you give me the plate back?" At the end, she brought back the plate, and it wasn't even clean. Anyhow, and another time there was this lady always next to us. she and her husband were always like, so how can I say, they looked always down at me. I don't know why, but okay, that doesn't care. And she was always so elegant, so she portrayed herself as the queen, I don't know. And then they moved. When they moved, I've seen her in the car. She didn't expect me to see me. And she was with her arm out of the door of the car with a cigarette. I never seen her smoking. And lots of makeup and strange clothes. It's a really bad impression. So I said, you are portraying yourself in a different manner of what you are. And she looked at me and she didn't even say hello or goodbye because they moved without saying nothing. And I think she was a little bit surprised that I caught her like that. Anyhow, they have this kind of, I don't know, there are Japanese, especially women, who, for example, work long hours at the office. They live in small apartments, and then maybe on Sunday or Saturday they go to work 10 hours in a different place, because once a month they want to go to eat in Ginza at a famous fashion place which costs 25,000 yen without the wine. Okay, or they have to have Prada or Versace or brand clothes, and they live so poorly. So I mean, get a bigger apartment instead of having these clothes. You can be nice also with something less expensive. They have to portray this image. I don't know why. This especially young women. I don't know if they are trying to get a rich bachelor. I don't know. Anyhow, now I will tell you about the company where I was working. So in the company where I was working, in the building, there were two separate companies, and we were in the upper floors and they were in the first floor, ground floor, first floor, etc. And I had a good job with a good wage. So as I was working, I was always working. I was always at work because I work also on Saturdays. On Sundays, maybe you have to clean up or to rest or to wash your clothes, etc. So I didn't have the occasion to spend much money. I mean, and I'm not a person who spends lots of money on clothes or eating out, etc. It's not my jewelry or all this stuff. Anyhow, there is a bus connecting the company to the station. So I had to walk to the station to take this bus, a bus, a normal bus, it's not company bus, and then go to work. As I had the possibility, in the morning I took the taxi. So I can sleep longer, I grab a taxi, I'm going to work. Okay, no problem. One day my boss calls me and he says, look, the persons of the other company, the employees of the other companies, through their boss, told me that you shall not come with a taxi. You have to take the bus. I'm not taking a receipt and bring it to the company and say you have to pay me for the taxi. This is my money. I come with the taxi. It's my money which I earned. Why should they put mouth into someone else's business? And all these persons, they had the car, which was the company car. We didn't have a company car. Only the sales persons had a car and the boss. The other came by foot, by walking, by bus, by taxi. Okay. So I continued to take the taxi, but I have always had to make the taxi stop in a point where nobody saw me, so I could walk then to the company, and they didn't know if I came by walking, if I came by bus, and it was so strange. And I mean, it was not even my company, and they had to tell my boss that I couldn't come to work with the taxi. I mean, if they were all going with a bus, I mean, maybe it was not appropriate for me to go with the taxi, but you have the company car. What do you want? Anyhow, another thing, in the company where I worked, there was another gaijin who, during lunchtime, the lunch break, he bought a beer to have with his lunch. This is, I don't know in your country, but in Italy it's normal to have a beer or a glass of wine in the lunch break. It's nothing. He also has been told you can't have beer with your lunch. You drink a soda, you drink water, you drink mungicha, ocha, what you want, but no beer. And he got angry. Anyhow. And also working in a Japanese company is not so easy for a foreigner. First of all, it depends also which position you have inside the company, but I've noticed that Japanese persons, they have this tendency of creating like small groups, or they make a big group against the foreigner. So they try to make things difficult for you, especially at the beginning. So you have to try to adapt, try to make yourself accepted, be polite and hold your tongue, and eventually in time things gets better. And when I quit my job at the company, I made a lot of part-time jobs, and I took a job in a sobaya, a restaurant making soba, and the wage was low, very low. It was 1 hour was paid less than they usually pay an high school student, to say. But I wanted to work there because I've never been working in a Japanese restaurant, and also this sobaya had a clientele, a particular customers, people whom I could have not met if I didn't work there. And if you work in a restaurant, you hear lots of things, etc. And it was like my, let's say, social study. And it was nice in the sense that I learned how to cook soba and all the types of soba. You can imagine, I don't like soba. And it's like, for example, for a non-Italian person going to work in an Italian restaurant and then having to prepare dishes. They tell you the name of the dish and you don't even know. They bring you the spaghetti and then you have to make the sauce. And they could say una carbonara, un aglio olio, un allo scoglio, una genovese. If you are not Italian, what's inside these things? So I had to learn writing on a notepad what goes in everything of this different soba, and it was in that way it was a nice experience. I learned a lot. Anyhow, there was a person working in a shop where I go usually to buy things that is eating every day in that sobaya, and I was a customer of hers. And one day she came in and she saw me that I had like a sponge in my head to clean the counter, but I had to go in the rear because I had to prepare something, and it was the boss who called me while I was cleaning. So all the counter was clean, but in the angle where nobody could sit there was a vase with fresh flowers inside. And these flowers, they can lose some petals, some leaves or pollen, etc. So if you looked under the, not under, sorry, behind the vase, it was still dirty because I didn't have time to clean that part. This lady, what did she do? She sat next to the vase on the last spot available, because there, as I told you, there were no more seats. There was the vase and the counter that was going to the wall. And the restaurant was the type where you go to the machine and you buy your ticket, you give the ticket and you wait. She gave the ticket with her order, and the first thing she said is, look here, and she moved the vase. Look how dirty it is. She didn't clean to my boss. I couldn't believe it. I said, what the hell? And fortunately, my boss, who has seen all, she told me, come here. She has seen that I was reaching there, but she called me back. And she answered, yes, I know she was cleaning, but now I need her here to cook. And that was a shock. I mean, why do you have to be so mean? Why? And you know me, because I'm your customer in your shop. I never complained about your service. Why do you make this to me? It was really something out of the blue. And when I quit the sobaya, I still go to her shop, but and she's always, how are you doing? Yeah, good, and you? I'm always, me too. I have my smile on my face, and I'm very kind, and etc., etc., but I know who you are. So sometimes you get stabbed by persons you would never imagine, and that was also a big wake-up call. And I say, how could I have had misjudged person like that? And these are the things that then makes you wondering what Japanese people really think about you. And in Japan, you will never be part of the group. You will be always a gaijin, and you will never understand them. Never, ever. Maybe it's me that I'm stupid, I don't know, but I've seen also other foreigners having the same problems. And dulcis in fundo, or to cap it all, I will tell you 2 experiences I had at the hospital. And this is not maybe relevant to this video, but I want to tell you. The first time I've been sick and I went to the hospital, I asked for a big hospital here in the vicinity. And I went there because I had pain in all my body, especially my legs. I had all this pain. I said, well, what's going on? I went to the hospital. I went to the doctor. The first thing that the doctor told me when I described my symptoms were, probably you have an autoimmune disease that will leave you on a wheelchair. I was like, the first time in a hospital in Japan. And he said, now we are going to take the blood, making blood tests, and you come back next week. I went home, and it was maybe after 6 months that I was here. Left everything. I came to Tokyo, and I thought to begin a new life, something, and you hear something like this, and you say, and now what should I do? I was not thinking about, because I was so overwhelmed. After 3 days, I got a super fever, and it was influenza. So I'm asking myself, you as a doctor, before saying to a patient something like this, wouldn't you look at the blood test before? You just say, maybe it's this autoimmune disease that will leave you on a wheelchair? Is this professional? And I really was shocked. Another time, I went again to the hospital. This time I had a super fever. They made me an X-ray. They say, yeah, it's something like pneumonia, something like this. They give me the medicines. I came back to the apartment, and they said, in 1 week come again if you are not cured. Take the medicines. Okay. My husband went to Osaka, so I was home alone, and I always had 39.5 of fever, and I had to go out to buy things to eat because I was 1 week alone. When I returned to the hospital, the doctor that visited me the previous time, he said, it's you. No, you have absolutely to interrupt the medicine that I gave you last time. I said, I finished them. And he said, no, and maybe it's better if we check you into the hospital. I said, no, why? Now I'm feeling better. Why you should put me in the hospital now? You should have put me in the hospital before it was... And he said, I showed the X-ray to a colleague. It means to a doctor who had studied, probably, and I had mycoplasma pneumonia. Anyhow, I don't know at the end what to add. I had also other things, but it would be too long for you to listen. If you want to come to Japan, come, enjoy your stay, study the language, live here, do whatever you want. Don't put limits to your dreams, but remember that all that glitters ain't gold, and beware of what you wish, because sometimes it comes true. This was a long video. Hope you have enjoyed it, and please leave me your impression in the comment section, and I thank you very much for your kind attention, and hope to see you again on my channel. Have a great day. Bye.